Thank you for joining us for this USLAW Live episode. This podcast is brought to you by USLAW's official corporate partners, SEA, American Legal Records, Arcadia Settlements Group, Immersion Legal Jury, Marshall Investigative Group, and MDD Forensic Accountants. We very much appreciate your support and partnership.
Well, this is Pam and I's first recording of the USLAW Live podcast. And USLAW Live is the official podcast for the USLAW Network. The purpose of the episodes is to provide a fun, lighthearted environment for US law attorneys and corporate sponsors like yourself to meet other members, clients, and corporate partners while also discussing some legal issues. So the point is we're going to try to get you in and out of here in 30 minutes. Perfect for those who are in a fast-paced environment. So we're just going to try to have some fun and add to your day. So with us today is Christina Marinakis with Immersion Legal. So Christina, say hello to everybody out there.
Hey, it is good to be back.
And you've got Mike Judy from the Dicer Taylor firm in Kansas City and Pam Hallford from Carr Allison in Alabama. Say hello, Pam.
Hey guys, sorry. Had to get rid of my office support dog. She was barking in the background, and I didn't think our audience would love that.
Well, now I've got to ask, what's your office support dog?
She is a mini golden doodle named Cocoa Beans because she's chocolate. And I probably missed what we were talking about, but I'm Pam Hallford from the Alabama firm of Carr Allison within USLAW, and super happy to be here on the brand new installment of USLAW Live.
So perfect. Well, thanks, Pam. Thanks, Christina, for being here today. I guess, Christina, tell us about you. Tell us about Immersion Legal. What's new in your world? Not much, I suspect.
Yeah, well, it's been an awesome year. I was involved with USLAW before with the previous organization for several years, and took off to start my own thing and started a company with another graphics firm, actually. And we were operating hand in hand, although we are technically two separate companies. So we're Immersion Legal Jury, all things jury consulting, witness prep, drafting voir dire, jury selection, focus groups, mock trials, all that jazz. And had the opportunity to come back to USLAW. So that's really been exciting for us. And I'm really excited to introduce my team. We've got a team of about 9 full-time folks that's currently in the midst of expanding to 13 full-time folks and another 20 part-time people on our team. So I'm excited to introduce them to USLAW and all the members and their clients.
Nice.
Christina,
How long? Yeah, no, go ahead, Pam.
tell us about the process of starting your own thing. Did you get much sleep during that time?
I'm still not getting much sleep, to be honest. It was a really transition from one to the next because I was still contracted with my old firm to finish out the cases that we had. So I was still doing that while also starting the new firm. But I was really fortunate that we got folks that I had worked with previously at the old firm. So they knew what they were doing. They knew how to work with me. And it was really quite smooth to make the transition. It was really just changing out the letterhead, changing out the template on the proposals, and we were off and going. But we started small because I really wasn't expecting. I knew I had a good support group. I knew I had a lot of clients that were loyal, but I was not expecting to grow. I thought, when I came my estimate to my partners and investors and all that, I kind of said, well, if we do 1/3 of what I was doing previously, we'll be doing pretty good. And we actually did 1.5 times as much as we had been doing the previous year. So it far exceeded that in terms of how busy we were. But it really, the staff just really took things on their own. I said, I trust you guys. I've worked with you for many years. Come up with the templates. I'll review it. Putting on together the mock trial, a lot of that's just logistics, catering orders, AV, all that stuff. It's about organization. And I just let them take everything there and said, you guys do it. I'll bring in the business and you guys make it happen. And it's worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. I imagine with your type of business, having a sort of a local home base or headquarters is not super vital. Do you guys have a home base, if you will?
We don't. In fact, I have 2 homes. I keep one home in Los Angeles and one home in Baltimore because we are traveling every week. I'm usually in about 2 to 3 cities a week. and I just go to whichever place makes the most sense on the weekend. So I might be up in Albany on a Thursday or Friday, and I got to be in Georgia, crash in Baltimore that weekend. If I'm on the other side of the coast, I head over to LA, but really bouncing between the two. And our staff is fully remote. So we've got folks that are based in New York City, Charleston, Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We got someone else in LA, someone in Denver. So we are really all over the place, and we just come together. We see each other every week though, because we're traveling as a group to these mock trials. So we see more of each other than you might otherwise think for a company that doesn't have a home base.
And is that something that you always envisioned, that you'd want to kind of open up your own deal and start your own business?
It is in the fact that, well, I wouldn't say always. No, I grew up with parents that when I got my first job, my dad said, there's three ways of doing it, of doing something. There's the right way, the wrong way, and the way your boss tells you to do it. And that's the way you do it. And so we've come, my parents, I'm first generation American. My dad's from Greece. And so he just had a very authoritarian, you follow what the boss does, painter. They never anybody that dreamed of having their own business. And that's sort of how I grew up, is that you just put in your hours and you work hard and you hope you get promoted to management, and there you go. But actually, when I was at my old firm, they had invited me to the management team, and we're talking about profit and loss statements and all this stuff that was completely over my head. I mean, I'm a psychologist and a legal background. I don't have any background in finance. So I took it on my own to actually take a course, an online course. It was a master's degree, a master's MBA course online for accounting for managers. And I had the book in my hand as I was traveling with my boss, and she said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I didn't understand what you guys were talking about, so I decided to take a course." And she said, "Well, that from that moment," she said, she knew that she wanted me as part of the management, as part of the ownership team. And she actually offered me ownership in that company. So her and she gave me part owners. I bought into that company and had owned that and had the little taste of ownership. I had just a small slice of the pie. And it was great. It was really fantastic. I learned a lot from that person, Dr. Mary Jo Patera. She's amazing. Some of you guys know her, and I learned a lot from her. And then after the pandemic, company went in a different direction, and that's where I saw an opportunity to reach out and do something on my own and take a lot of what Mary Jo taught me, because I saw great things that she had that I wanted to embody in my own company. But then I had other ideas too, like, wouldn't it be better if this, and have really worked to create a company that met a vision that I had.
So you were saying that after the pandemic, you saw an opportunity for the company to move, or for you to move things in a different direction.
But I did have a vision for a different type of company. And having been a worker bee all my life, I wanted to have a company that was for the worker bees, by the worker bees. And so, quite frankly, we pay our folks better than the average in the industry. They have an opportunity to earn, a profit sharing in the company. So they, when the company wins, they win. And, it's not like, some firms have origination where if you bring in work, you get certain percentages, and that's something I've experienced in other firms, but instead we just all share in the percentages so that everybody's motivated to bring in business to meet the client needs, and we can all share in those successes. And then also a focus on health. So I was working 120 hours at one point at the old company, and it wasn't good for your health. It wasn't good for your mind, your body. And I got a trainer, and my trainer said, I said, I got client meetings. I don't have time to work out. I got all these client meetings. And he said, how the F are you not your number one client?
True. So true. I love that.
And I just thought, you know what? He's got a good point there. And he says, if you can put an hour on your schedule for this client, that you say you can put an hour on your schedule for yourself, just an hour, just a meeting. So he encouraged me to set aside 1 hour a day, put it on this calendar like it is a meeting. You don't schedule calls over it. You don't cancel it. It is a meeting with an important client. And that's your 1 hour. And I got into the habit of doing that. And I thought it'd be great to have everybody in the company do that. Just take your hour. Now, you might still have to work that night. You might still have to work over the weekend, but take that hour for yourself to either get your nails done, meditate, get a massage, work out, whatever you need to do for your health that day. make that appointment for yourself. So that's something that we've really pushed. And, we give gifts, we do reimbursements for health expenses. We gave everybody Fitbits and yoga pants. And we're really trying to make us an area where we focus on health too, which is great because I know US Law has that same initiative. So we're happy to join in that.
And I'm assuming you find your batteries recharged, when you're working those late nights or have to log back in, after dinner, that taking that hour for yourself really helps you stay motivated and get focused and get through the rest of the day.
It does, but it's almost the other way around. I am not someone who likes to run. I never was a runner, but that run goes by a lot faster when you're thinking about work in your mind. And I'm actually running through opening statements and things in my mind. And it's like, oh, 5 minutes just passed. That run wasn't quite so bad. I actually get stuff done on the treadmill. It just in my mind.
Right.
I don't know when I recharge. That's a good question.
Is there something about starting your own business or owning your own deal that you were enjoying more than you ever thought you would?
Yeah. Watching the successes of my team members, I don't have children, at least not right now. And having to see people grow and to watch them achieve their first win. I had one of my employees did her first jury selection, and it was a big one because I wasn't available. And she stepped in, and it ended up being a huge defense verdict for that client in a difficult jurisdiction in Philly. And to watch, tears in her eyes when we heard the verdict, and I was so proud of her. And I thought, this must be what it feels like to be a parent, to watch
That's
your
awesome.
kid's success.
Yeah, that's awesome, Christina. Hey, I think probably everybody who's listening knows what jury consultants do. And I realize that at Immersion, y'all are doing a lot more than just straight up jury consulting. Can you tell us a little bit about the services that you guys offer and what it is that you kind of do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. I think one of the misconceptions is that you have to have a mega $1 million case to bring in a jury consultant. But there's actually a lot that we can do that doesn't, you don't have to have a focus group or a mock trial for every case. But say you're just going into a jury selection. We've probably done a case that's similar to yours. A premises liability of a shooting or something. We've got juror questionnaires from other cases. We've got voir dire from other cases. Reach out. We can send you that, and it would be less than an hour's time for us to put together a list of questions to help you identify your bad jurors. So there's little things we can do like that, drafting voir dire, coming up with what the jury profile, what jurors you want and which jurors you don't want for that particular case. We also do theme development. It's something that is not as well talked about as often, but I will often draft the what I call the intro to the case. It's like the intro to your opening or the dismount. It's the mic drop moment at the end of your closing. That's something we do quite frequently for a lot of clients is come up with these catchy, pithy openers. And then you guys fill in all the evidence and what the evidence is going to show. But we've got the attention grabbers and the catchy themes. The pride, we use things like pride over policing, we use in the George Floyd case, or culture of callousness in the Vanessa Bryant case. A lot of catchy alliterative themes are things that we come up with that, again, don't take that much time to do. It's a couple hours for us to sit down, look at some of the case documents, and come up with what your themes are for your case. So that's some early work that we can do. And then you've got your traditional focus groups and mock trials where you're testing out your arguments, getting feedback on your witnesses. We also work with witnesses, do witness prep. I'm doing witness prep with Scott Ortiz and next weekend, I believe, and his client. So working with witnesses to make their testimony more believable, more credible, and more streamlined. And then the jury selection piece of it. There is a part where we're in court doing, giving recommendations for peremptory strikes, also doing background searches on the prospective jurors. So that's why I said I have that team of 20 part-time folks. That's the internet search team. You may think you don't have time to do searches of your entire panel, but when you got 20 people back at the office, each person takes a name, and within 30 minutes, you've got a dossier on every juror. So that's mostly what we do. And then sometimes post-trial interviews or jury reconvenings. But that's pretty much the bread and butter is the theme development, jury selection, and jury research exercises.
It's interesting, Christina, I didn't realize that you guys helped with theme development. And I think that's super interesting because I've been hearing a lot lately about using storytellers to help you develop your theme. And I thought that was just such an interesting concept and one that I hadn't really considered or thought of, but I mean, it sounds like that's kind of the role that you guys are filling to help it. I mean, obviously, a lot of times the plaintiff has the more compelling story. And so yeah, I think sometimes it's difficult for us to create what the story actually is for us in a way that it's more of a story to the jury as opposed to a case that they're having to decide. So I think that's super interesting.
Absolutely. One of the presentations that I get the best feedback on when I do public speaking is titled Successful Storytelling and the Power of Pithy Themes.
Oh, how funny.
It is all about, and it's using psychological principles on storytelling, how you have the protagonist and antagonist. Everything was going along fine until what happened. It's either the plaintiff, did something that started off this chain of events, but it's you're telling that story and, not doing it at 5 o'clock, this happened on this date, this happened on this date, this happened. That's not how Cinderella's story went, right? It's this time and about 2 weeks later, 5 hours later, this happened. It's painting the pictures in the juror's mind is going to get you further than just reciting the facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you seeing more online or virtual focus groups, mock trials, etc., or are you guys like kind of moving back in person more than pre-COVID?
We're definitely mostly in person because we do more mock trials than focus groups, and we don't really recommend doing a mock trial online because one, it takes longer, and to have someone sit in front of their computer for 8 hours, they're usually distracted at some point. They've got kids in the house, they've got dogs, they've got people knocking on the door, TV's going. So, and then also they don't really deliberate. When you're in a Zoom setting with a bunch of different boxes, people either don't want to talk because they don't want to talk over each other, and they go, sorry, nope, you go, nope, you go. And the deliberations are awkward. So we don't do mock trials very often in a virtual format, but we do focus groups. So focus groups are more like a 4 hour, a 6 hour event, and you've got a moderator who can moderate the room so that everybody has a chance to be heard and they're not talking over one another. So we do online focus groups, a couple times a month perhaps, but really we're doing a lot of the in-person stuff several times a week.
And that's a kind of a good segue into, I know something you've presented on before and we've talked about, but I know it's something that's at the top of everybody's mind is these runaway verdicts that juries are continuing to give more and more money away on cases that before were, when you're doing your analysis, don't seem like that high dollar. And so I guess talk a little bit on what you're seeing and what you can do and what your team does to combat against that.
Yeah, well, first we have to think about what are the causes of that. What is leading to these nuclear verdicts? And I think there's several causes. One, of course, we're all familiar with the reptile theory and plaintiffs making these cases about the community, sending a message. It's not about compensating the plaintiff. That's not even what's on the minds of the jurors. The jurors are all thinking about punishing the defendant. Even if there's no punitive damages, that's what's in their mind is how do we send a message and getting them angry. So that's what's causing it. I think all the plaintiff advertisements is what's causing it. People think that $80 million is not a big deal because they've seen that on billboards. They see it on TV. So what can we do about it? Lots of stuff. I mean, this is an hour-long presentation that I could give on this, but just highlights. One of the things is diffusing the anger in the room. Falling on your butter knife is a term we sometimes use. Is like if you've messed up, own it. Own the little bit of a mess up and then explain why that wasn't the cause of the accident or why that wasn't the cause of this. But if you sit up there and you deny it, you lose all credibility and it's just going to anger the jurors. So sometimes we stipulate to negligence even, but not to causation. Or, that might be one approach just to get them less angry. The other approach is making jurors feel good about siding with a defendant. And usually it's a big company. And how do you do that? There's lots of different ways to do it. And I've seen it done and really fabulously by some lawyers, but we talk about doing the right thing, even when it's not the easy thing. And at the end of the day, that's what we're asking you to do as a jury, because it's an easy thing is to give the plaintiff a lot of money. Easy thing is to make a company pay a lot of money. But you know what? Jury duty isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's right. And the right thing in this situation is to follow the evidence. And if you follow that evidence, and you do the right thing and get jurors to, feel good about it. Because you have to get them, you can walk out of this courtroom with your head held high, knowing that you did the right thing, even if it hurts you inside to look at the plaintiff and send them home empty-handed. But that's what jury duty is about. It's about making the hard decisions. And you all said that you could do that. That's why you're here. So getting the jurors kind of like wrapping yourself around the American flag a little bit is one way to diffuse that anger and get jurors to start thinking rationally. And then when it comes to the plaintiff, advertisements, I think you just crack it in voir dire if you can. Who's seen these big advertisements out there? Does anyone think that's the norm? Why do you think they're advertising those big numbers? And get just jurors talking about it as why that's not the norm. And how many of you heard about all the defense verdicts that these companies are getting? You don't. Why? Because the plaintiffs are, and get jurors to start thinking about that's not the normal. And then doing some counter anchoring too is sometimes helpful in certain cases to come up with that counter anchor and talk about how plaintiffs ask is really way out in the moon because they hope you're going to give them half. Just call it for what it is, right? They just anchored you. They asked for this ginormous number because they think that maybe if you give them a third of it, they're going to still walk out of here with a jackpot. Don't fall for that. The number they just asked you, they just pulled that out of a hat. Let's look at what the real numbers are and what's actually reasonable in a case like this and anchor them back.
And one thing I struggle with, and I know a lot of folks do, is, and it gets back to your storytelling and, who can tell the best story is what are you doing to humanize the companies that whether it's a trucking company, a big box store, whatever the case is, that allowing the jury to emphasize with the company or to identify with the company?
I think it actually starts before litigation. Plaintiffs are out there advertising all their big verdicts. Why are we not advertising the good things that our drivers are doing? For example, in a trucking case, there's drivers out there that have saved buses of burning children. There's drivers out there who have helped old ladies deliver their packages, to their long lost son. There's good stories out there. And the local news stations they always have that good news segment. So if you've got an employee that did something awesome, put it on the news. We got to change people's perceptions of truck drivers and trucking litigation specifically. Changing that perception, getting them to see them as good people, as real people, as people who care, starts before we even get to the courtroom. And then I think once
Preach. If I have not said that one time, I've said it a million times. Yes.
Great minds think alike. I love it. And then once you're in the courtroom, I think too, just working with your witnesses on the witness prep. The witnesses can't get up there and say, I don't recall. I don't recall. Nobody says recall. If you count the number of times you said recall in your real life, it's like never. What do people say? Gosh, I don't remember. Ah, man, I'm trying to think, but it escapes me right now. Get them to talk like humans instead of robots up there. I don't recall, and they seem stiff and coached. And sometimes just getting them to acknowledge, like, in your direct examination, hey, are you nervous? I noticed your foot's tapping. Are you nervous? Yeah. Why are you nervous? Is that because you never testified before? Get them to talk about that because I never testified before because there's a lot of people in the room. I don't like public speaking. Makes them a lot more human than if they get up there and they're tapping their leg and they're looking nervous and the jurors thinking they're lying because they're nervous. Just call it out for what it is. Why are you nervous? And I think letting jurors see the human side of your client and of you as the attorneys too. You don't have to be perfect. You don't stand behind the podium and give a perfect opening statement. You can stumble a little bit. You can fumble a little bit, walk around a little bit, have a poor posture, talk with your hands. You just got to be real with these people and be genuine. And then they're more likely to adopt your story that way because the story is only as good as the storyteller. So the storyteller's got to be relaxed and believable. And that's where we, lawyers can work on just getting comfortable and telling that story to them instead of talking at them.
And can you provide coaching for lawyers on how to do that better?
We actually
set that hour aside a day for all of us to be more human.
Yeah, we've done that sometimes. I've worked with especially a lot of younger lawyers because lawyers right out of the gate, they think this is real serious stuff. I gotta be polished. I gotta be perfect. And they got their notes there and they read it and it's awful. And it's a lot better if you just have some, cards or something that prompt you and you're speaking from the heart because the jurors are going to see you must believe in your case because you're speaking from your heart instead of reading your opening statement. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can trip over your words. You can say the wrong words. It just makes you human and more likable, believable.
What do you do if you're like me and you're human, but you're also perfect? Well, Christina, we don't want you to give away all your secrets. So let's talk to you about just maybe a little quick hit that you can give us that you're seeing going on that's, weighing on your mind or that is really pertinent to your business right now?
Right now, the trend that I'm seeing the most lately is hung juries, really long, contentious deliberations. And it started with after the pandemic when they were coming back. In my career, I probably had 2, 3 mistrials in 20 years. That first year or two back from the pandemic, we had like 12 in a year
Wow.
hung juries. And we've had lots of the Allen charges, dynamite charges. We've had 2 cases where the jurors asked to be excused because they were so stressed out and said it wasn't good for their mental health, fighting with the other jurors. We've had it's really been something I've never seen before, and I think what's behind it is 2 things. One, I think it's polarization and political polarization. We've seen this in mock trials where jurors will say, "I bet you voted for so and so." It's like they're getting personal attacks and turning it into political when it's not even. It's a case about like a patent or something. So there's polarization there. This tribalism. If you're not with us, you're against us. If you don't believe what I believe, you're bad. We're seeing that more. And then it's cell phones. Juries used to, on the breaks, talk to each other. They used to get lunch every day. What are they doing now? They're in their phones. Every time that they take a break, they're in their phones texting and Googling and all that stuff. So they're not having that camaraderie. So when it comes time to deliberate, they're not motivated to compromise. They don't know each other. But when you have a team that's cohesive, that has lunch, they're a lot more polite and they work together better. So I think that's happening. We saw it kind of get better. And then with this recent election, we've seen it get worse again.
Have you made any recommendations to your clients that maybe they followed up on that they request the court limit the exposure of the cell phones?
Yes, we've had them ask that they not have access to their cell phones in the courtroom. So when they're sidebars and things like that, we've done that. We've also had clients that agreed to pay for lunch, that anonymously, if you can get both parties to get together and anonymously supply the jurors lunch, that's awesome because then they're going to sit down and they're going to chat with each other and they're going to get to know each other and they're going to have better cohesiveness. So we've seen that in a number of cases too. Or breakfast.
Yeah.
Depends on your budget.
Speaking of breakfast and lunch, Mike wants to talk a little bit about if you had to plan out your perfect day of eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, where would you go? What would you do?
Oh, this is not, and I'm not going to gain any weight. Is that part of the rule?
Yes, calories
That is
don't
the
count.
rule. Right. Calories don't count in this game.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm not a breakfast person at all. So when we go to breakfast places, I almost always get a BLT. That's like my go-to breakfast.
There's a little bit of breakfast in there.
Yeah.
I'm
The
with you,
B.
Christina. I'm the same way. I don't like eggs, so breakfast is really kind of off for me. BLT is the way to go.
Right. And my significant other is like every meal is breakfast. He wants like pancakes every meal. So we're
Ugh.
actually a terrible match in that sense. But that would be breakfast, I suppose, a BLT assumption that my employees all know, to chicken wings. And if chicken wings are on the menu and I'm on a cheat day, I'm getting chicken wings.
Love it.
And
What flavor are we going with?
I go with hot, just a traditional hot. Or what's really good is if you get the lemon pepper and then you dip it in the hot. So it's like a mix of
Ooh,
the lemon pepper
yum.
and the hot.
Okay. And where's your go-to place for wings?
I've just got in an argument about that yesterday. There's a place called Hot Wings Cafe. That's how much wings are a part of my life. I'm not lying. Hot Wings Cafe in Melrose in Los Angeles, I think has great wings, but they're tiny. They're like little ones, little like inch long ones, but they're crispy and they're really good.
Yeah.
You know who has really good wings though? Because this is a group that travels a lot, I bet. In DFW, there's it's called like the Dallas Club or something like that. It's like the Dallas Cowboys bar. I think it's in Terminal A in DFW, has amazing chicken wings. So go if you got hankering for wings, that's where you should go at DFW.
I'm going to be in
And
DFW
they
with
get
my
paid for
daughter
them.
in 3 weeks. So I'm going to remember
Oh,
that because chicken wings are also one of my favorites, Christina. So we are aligned in that regard. I don't know if you have this particular persuasion, but I only like the flat ones. I do not like the drummies.
See, I'm the
oh,
opposite. Drummies are where it's at.
You guys are a perfect pair.
We
I
are.
actually have a friend that is a couple that he likes the drums and she likes the flats, and they have matching tattoos. His says his, and it's got a chicken drum, and hers says hers, and it's a flat. Like I'm
Oh my
just,
God, I love it.
it's amazing. No, I like any of them as long as they're extra crispy. We're good.
All right, so we've got BLT and chicken wings. Then what's for dinner? How are you topping it off? Dinner
You're
and dessert.
the sodium I'm about to consume is going to make
But
everybody
it doesn't
yeah,
count.
it doesn't count, right? I'm not a sweets person. That's all another thing. I don't really do sweets. I never do dessert, but I also have an addiction to sunflower seeds. And well, this actually is an interesting story because I grew up, like, my dad was from Greece, and he just wanted to be an American so bad that he just want everything American. So we ate hot dogs, we ate apple pie, and we watched baseball. That's what we did, like, every day. And we had all these American flags. It's not like Big Fat Greek Wedding where they've got Greek flags everywhere. It was like that, but with American flags, because he's like, we're American. I came here for a reason. We played Neil Diamond's Coming to America every night before bed. That's how we grew up. So sunflower seeds were like always in the house. And me and my dad would just sit there and watch baseball, spitting sunflower seeds. And so that just has stuck with me. They're so bad for you with this. I get the low sodium kind, and that helps a little bit, but that's my dessert at night is my snack with some sunflower seeds.
And are you going plain sunflower seeds, or are you going with one of the new flavors?
I do like the cracked pepper. But
Oh,
usually
that's
I
my
just do
favorite
the
too.
light sodium. But the cracked pepper is good, but your tongue starts to go raw. You can only have so many, but it is my now I'm like got a hankering now for some sunflower seeds.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend the taco seasoning sunflower seeds. I
Oh
think
yeah.
if you try them, they'll change your life.
Wow,
We
I've
are a
never
big
even heard
taco.
of these, Mike.
Come to Kansas City and I'll buy you some taco flavored sunflower seeds.
I'm on it. I'm on it. We do Mexican like at least 3 times a week. We're a lot of Mexican over here.
Give them a
So
try. Another question for you. What are you reading? What are you watching? And what are you listening to?
shamefully, I don't do a lot of reading outside of work. I am working 80 to 100 hours a week, and so I've read enough of your briefs and your motions for summary judgment that I just don't do a lot of reading. If I'm chilling out, I did just start the third season of White Lotus that just came out. I find that those White Lotus are really intriguing. It's interesting. It's beautiful music, beautiful scenery. I just imagine I'm in Thailand or Hawaii or the beaches of Italy when I watch that show. So that's probably the thing I'm watching now, or some trashy TV like Selling Sunset, and we're just watching,
Oh,
looking at house. I'm in the middle of buying a house and going through the house process. So to watch all these dream homes is like, well, maybe the next one I'll get. The next one will be that $11 million one on Sunset
yeah.
Boulevard. So, and I love
So
the outfit, the clothes, yeah.
my wife is addicted to everything Bravo, and it's always on in the background. And I'm like, how can you watch all of Selling Sunset, Below Deck, all of it? And she said, you watch sports, I have this on in the background. So I thought that finally turned the light for me. I'm like, oh, now I get it. Bravo has an audience. It's just like sports.
It is a lot of times background noise. Like a lot of times I am doing like my time entries. I'm doing other work. I just want to have something on the background. And I'm like, oh, check out that outfit, or that's a cute purse. And I just like to look at it, but it's not something you have to follow along the storyline because there is
Right.
no storyline. It is that background noise for you.
And do you have a go-to, other than the US Law Live podcast, do you have a go-to podcast?
I do not. However, my significant other is a comedian and has his own podcasts. And so I guess will sometimes listen to his. I actually sat at his while he was filming yesterday. They've got a big audience, and I think that's fun to watch his podcast and listen to all the jokes he makes and realize a lot of times it's not even, he'll be like, oh, last week this happened. I'm like, that wasn't last week. That was like 2 years ago, but it's all part of the entertainment.
Hey, Christina, give him a little plug. What's the name of his podcast?
Oh,
One of them, he does a bunch, but one of them is called The Impolite Truth.
Okay,
That I like.
we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's mostly sports. It's a lot of sports stuff, sports, music, current events, guest stars and things like that.
Pam, do you have any other last-minute, hard-hitting, non-legal questions?
No, Christina, this was awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know you're super, super busy over there at Immersion, and We are very happy to have you back within the US Law family and are super glad that you could join us for the podcast to sort of get reintroduced to all the folks that have missed you for a couple years.
Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to get to know me, and I'm really looking forward to introducing you to our folks at the team and seeing everybody at all the events this year.
Good. Well, thanks again, Christina. You have earned yourself some wings and sunflower seeds tonight, so do something fun.
I'm going out looking for the taco ones. I am.
There you go.
All right,
All right. Well,
guys.
you have a great rest of your day and a great week.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to US Law Live. Stay tuned for more great conversations on US Law Live, US Law's official podcast. To learn more about US Law Network, visit uslaw.org.